considering going on a trip soon and filming my trip. I've had a theory that I wanted to try out. My theory was that if you spend enough time with anybody, you could find a drama going on in their life. So you could make a documentary about absolutely anybody. Start out without any preconceived notions and see what happens. Just get in this old clunky car and take off. Like for instance right here. Joe's a nut licker. Now this is perfect example of what I was talking about. If we could find Joe and follow him long enough, we could probably find out why someone is going around the desert here writing Joe as a nut licker. So anyway, I'm back in the car now. I'm actually out by the bombing range. Probably 80 miles from Wendover and 60 miles from Salt Lake. I came out here to try to take pictures of antelope for my friend Scott. But like I was saying about reality, would it be actually interesting to film what happens to you? I mean, so much of documentary filmmaking is really phony. It's really just about constructing realities instead of actually filming what happens. I mean, is real life actually interesting? Or is television more interesting? Let's see what's happening here. German Valley Well. We are now approaching the German Valley Well. So apparently Joe does more than just lick nuts. Now the question I have here is, who is more interesting, Joe or the person that is actually taking the time to drive around the desert and write these things? Keith is a poacher like Choo Choo, so it's probably not Keith or Choo Choo. It's an old sheep trough. No old sheep around here, though. I mean, the truth of the matter is that reality doesn't always unfold in a dramatic fashion, but it always unfolds in an interesting fashion, at least most of the time. You know, so much of the time when you're making documentaries, you're worried about how you look or what you sound like, what you're saying, as opposed to trying to actually figure out what is going on. Now, it's not that everything that goes on is interesting, but your job, or my job as a documentary filmmaker, is to figure out what is interesting and to try to catch it while it actually is happening, as opposed to filming people talking about something that happened a long time ago. Scott, my friend Scott, who I'm out here looking for antelope I'm trying to take pictures of antelope to help Scott with his film. I want to put him in his movie. He's making an interesting film. He has a notion that he can come out here and actually run down an antelope. Scott is one of the most interesting people I know. He's a good friend. He's a little strange, but he's got a good idea about this antelope thing. And when I say run down antelope, I don't mean run them down in a car. I mean get out and physically chase after them on foot. I mean, he knows that antelope are in fact the fastest creatures in North America. But I'll let him explain why he thinks he can catch one. I mean, I've never seen so many antelope in my life as there are out here today. Hey! Hello! Come back! That's another thing about shooting out here, where so very little actually happens, that any event that does happen tends to stand out and take significance, take on some kind of significance that it normally wouldn't. I mean, when you're wandering around downtown, there's so many things happening all the time. But out here, you know, just seeing a water tank with some graffiti on it and then seeing a sheep suddenly takes on new meaning. But I noticed that while I'm out here, I'm looking for another event. Something to, like for instance right now, we just came over a hill and we're coming to a fork in the road. Now should I go to the right or to the left? Well, I turned to the left. And let's see what we've got here. This roadway crosses active military munitions testing and disposal range. Do not leave road surface, U.S. Air Force. So should I go straight ahead or should I turn around? Which would be the most interesting decision? I mean, you never know. And life is full of a million of these kind of problems, decisions. Should I put sugar in my coffee? Should I buy Coors Light? I mean, part of documentary filmmaking is, like I mentioned before, trying to figure out what the story is or trying to actually figure out what to film. You know, you often make a decision, well, I'm going to film this thing here, but while you're doing that, you think, well, maybe I'm missing what's really going on over there, and often you are. Sometimes you actually catch it when it happens, but more often than not, you miss it. There's a, I'm going to hook up the different mic here, but what I've done is actually decided to go out on the bombing range. It may not have been the smartest decision, but I think it's the most interesting. Now there's some holes up here on this hill, and I think we'll go up and look inside one and see if there's anything interesting. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually filming myself walking up this hill, so that the first time I look in this hole will also be the first time you look in this hole. It's hot out here. It must be 100 degrees. Now, all right. See, there's not a damn thing. Let's try this other hole. And there's nothing in that either. So perhaps I made the wrong decision in filming that. There's the lake over there, wow. Part of the reason I like it out here is because nobody ever comes out here. I mean, this place has been abandoned by pretty much everyone. Environmentalists don't even like it. And we've just passed something on the road here that looked kind of peculiar. Looks like a sign. I don't think I've ever seen a sign quite like that before. I'm not sure what it means. But it is a sign of. Perhaps we'll, oh, I know what it is. It means paved road turning into gravel road. But since I'm already on a gravel road, maybe there's a paved road ahead. Anyway, I think part of what happens when you get bored in a film, when you're looking at a film and it gets boring, is that information is being repeated. You're actually seeing something or hearing something that you either already know or the filmmaker has told you just previously once or maybe more times. I don't know whether what I'm doing right now is boring. It's not repetitive. Things are unfolding in a some sort of fashion. I feel like I am on a journey. Who would have guessed? Oh, to hell with them. I'm going out there and see what's... No trespassing my butt. I've got to say that this is one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen on the Great Salt Lake. So again, what you see here is a tumbleweed that has tumbled into the Great Salt Lake, and it's now covered with brine and brine flies. Try and get a close-up. That was intense. Okay, I've just seen I've spotted an antelope just over the top of this hill, so I'm going to see if I can sneak up on it. Hello! Wait! Come back! Well, that was stupid. Okay, we're coming up to a small railroad town, Lakeside, Utah. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Here, kitty, 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 kitty. I'm wondering that after I put all this stuff together, if it will in fact be at least half as interesting as an episode of Love Boat. It is unlawful to enter this area without permission of the commander. The commander. While on this installation, all personnel and property under their control are subject to search. I think what I'm going to do is go down to the end of this road, and the salt flats are down there. We'll go out onto the salt flats and see what's out there. So here I am at the salt flats. I don't know if anyone can appreciate what a really strange place this is unless you're out here. I'm gonna hold the mic close while I walk out here because I want to make sure there's no wind noise. I think that when someone such as myself is actually trying to film reality, that the salt flats is a perfect place to do that, because reality out here is at its starkest. It's naked. Naked reality. What we have here is a dead beetle. I'm going to get a close-up of him. Frozen in his tracks. But if this beetle could have seen what he was walking out towards, which is 100 miles of burning salt, maybe he'd have turned around. Instead, he only made it about 200 yards out onto the salt pan here before he died, and will remain frozen in this position forever. Kind of makes you think. There seems to be a sign. There. There's a sign up ahead. Let's go see what it says. I'm trying to actually film my feet to give you a sense of what it is I'm walking on. It is kind of like the surface of a mirror. We're about 40 feet from the sign, and we're going to go up and see what it says. Try to actually get this in real time. So you are seeing this at exactly this. yeah. Warning, U.S. Air Force. You know, there are times in a man's life when he has to say, how did I ever get here doing this? And I think this is one of those times for me. I mean, I had a promising career at one time. I lived in Hollywood and I knew Sean Penn and Madonna. Warren Beatty actually called me up and asked me out to dinner. And now I'm out here. Did I take a wrong turn somewhere? Maybe it was the right turn.